Yeah. Have a good call.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah. Have a good call.
Thanks, mate. Well, sorry for a bit of a late start, but we had a couple of small technical issues there, but we are here from Las Vegas, so roll the dice, spin the wheel. What happens in Vegas? Will it stay in Vegas, or will it continue on, setting the scene for the entire season to come? We are in round 2 of the 131 WebRadio Truck Series, and we're actually here, as mentioned, at Las Vegas. We've got a big field of trucks here tonight, and joining us here in the commentary box is Danny G. How you going, Daniel?
I'm very good, thank you.
All right, so just having a look down this massive field of trucks here that we've got here tonight. We've got 36 trucks starting this race. Jason Martin, as expected, taking pole position. Jackson Callow sitting there on his outside. And then Skurlock and Jaeger, Purnell, Doherty, Sloggett, Clowett, they're all here tonight. So what are you expecting to see? It is a hot track tonight. So, Daniel, sort of looking at least the early stage of this race, are you expecting we're going to see a caution early, or are you expecting they're going to be relatively clean to kick off?
Well, let's have a look. We've got 36 odd cars if they all make the grid. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see an early caution flag. But what I'm looking forward to seeing is just to see the rest of the top 5 trying to keep up with Jason Martin, because those qualifying times are very close. So they're up there. It's big.
Yeah, they certainly are very close. I mean, there's only a couple of tenths really. I mean, like half a second or so separating the entire field. So Jason Martin sitting out there on pole position with Jackson Callow, as mentioned, on his outside. Jackson and Jason, of course, really fought for the win last week here at Indianapolis. And last week's winner, Chris Purnell, sat down there in 5th position as well. So he'll be looking to come through. There are a few other guys sort of buried back there in the pack. You see Ben Doherty back there. Josh Micklemore starting out of 11th. He's one to watch. Ricky Cornwall had such a great run last week. He's starting out of 15th place. A few Thunder drivers in there as well, and a few other guys that you'd see, but a few surprises for me, I guess, looking towards the back of the pack, and the guys who didn't actually set qualifying times. And those are names like Jake Maloney, Matt Danson, Mitchell McLeod, Steve Williams, Ash Lear, Matt Hunter, all down there, did not set qualifying times and starting off the back of the grid. So expect to see those guys fighting their way through. And we're just watching them roll around at the moment under the pace car, ready to take the start. So as far as, are you expecting to see those guys at the back just come through the field?
Yeah, you think so. They're fast drivers. I think they'll do it.
Alright, so going to the start now. Jason Martin jumps away very early. It looks like Callow has got Skurlock sitting there on his inside. Purnell making a move on the inside of Jaeger as well. And all the rest of them following them through. It's almost hard to know where to look as this massive field works its way through turn 1 and 2. Jason Martin with that traditional gap that he pulls out on the first lap, sticking quite low actually before moving up high and getting through to take turns 3 and 4, complete the first lap with Skurlock hot on his heels. It looks as though Callow has actually dropped back to 4th place, just sort of chasing along through there, and just a big gaggle behind as all these trucks sort themselves out, the drivers sort themselves out and work themselves into a rhythm, get their tyres up to temperature, and get themselves running through this race.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, yeah, like there's a lot of cars out there at the moment. They're just lining up right now down the backstretch. Yeah, they're going 3 wide. It's going to be very interesting.
Well, a single file there at the front now, isn't it? But certainly further back, there's a lot of, I guess it always seems to be the case where they take a little bit longer to sort themselves out at the back just because it's so congested back there. And there are, as we mentioned, there are quite a few fast guys looking to actually fight their way through. Mitchell McLeod, he's moved up a couple of spots already. Gavin Sadler down there as well. Tristan Yellen's actually dropped a couple of spots, and Jason Williams is another one who's sort of sitting back there at the moment, just wanting to push his way way up. But just sort of looking at the front, Jason Martin has got around about a half-second lead now over Skurlock, who's coming under pressure. I believe Chris Purnell may have actually just taken, he has taken that second position on the outside, and it looks as though he's taking Callow with him around the outside of Michael Skurlock there. So it looks as though we've actually got Kai Sloggett sitting in behind them as well. No cautions yet, which is great to see these guys racing very, very clean. You can see Callow there at the moment just pushing his way right up on the back of Purnell. Looks like he's trying to make a move down on the inside, but I think that Purnell's, looks as though they almost touched there, but Purnell keeping the momentum around the outside and hanging there in second place, dropping down to the apron, trying to gap Callow a little bit, and he has done that quite successfully with Skurlock now, his teammate in the Alliance Sim Sports, just pushing up on the back of Callow in that lads racing team Tundra.
Yeah, you can definitely see, I think the 20 car has just got into the wall there, but you can definitely see the high line that starts to sort of play in the longer these trucks run on the track, and I think at the moment it looks like you're not going to be able to pass on the bottom late in the run.
Yeah, certainly seems that way. That's certainly the way that we saw it throughout practices. After a couple of laps on these tyres, it does start to get quite loose, and whether your truck's loose or it's pushing up the track, that means it's understeering, it's not turning as much as you'd like. Generally the high line is the more comfortable line, whereas if you're running down low, you are taking a fair bit out of the tyres and everything, but it really shows that the truck's handling to your liking and you've got confidence in it. And we do have our first caution of the night. We are under yellow.
Yeah, and it looks like it was something happened coming out of turn 2 with looks like the 37 truck. Might be the 21.
Oh, the 21's Jason Martin.
Oh yeah, it's not the 21. I'm looking at the position. It's number 57.
Number 57. So who are we looking at there? Number 57 looks like Leo Smith.
Yeah, he looks like he just gets he hits the apron and gets a bit loose and heading over turn 2, and sort of the rest of them corral behind him and off he goes.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate for him. So it looks like there's a couple of guys heading to pit lane. I think Gavin Sadler might have been involved in that as well. Just looking at Leo Smith, he doesn't look like he's picked up too much damage, but certainly looking across at Gavin Sadler, he has taken a pit road, and he's taking service at the moment, and he has got some big time damage on the front of that number 71 Toyota Tundra. So I think Smith got away with that, and definitely Gavin has come to grief there, and it's going to be a long repair job for him. So he was probably going to see, we're going to see him staying in the pit lane for quite a while, I think, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, there's a lot of front end damage there as the rest of the field comes by him to put him a lap down. I'm not sure how long that's going to take, but he's definitely out of the running for this one.
So they're pouring into the pits now, absolutely everybody coming in, and I think that shows, given the fact we are only on lap 8 of this race, as Jason Martin actually overshoots his pit box, so that's going to cost him. I'd be surprised to see him pulling out in first place as he entered the pit lane, just coming into his pit box, just overshot a little bit, had to reverse, but it looks like Purnell might be out first. Purnell is out first, Callow getting ahead of them, and Jason Martin dropping a long way back. Just having a look at the way that these guys are coming off pit road, and I was just about to say, Daniel, that pitting like that on lap 8 as Gavin Sadler takes his truck behind the wall, but pitting on lap 8 is it's very early. It kind of shows the way that these tyres are really feeling the heat this early on in the race.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, especially these 1.5 mile tracks, sort of, you might get like 2 or 3 laps out of them and you won't sort of mind, but 8 laps is definitely a bit of a stretch on them, especially when the rest of the guys hitting behind you that decide to come up pit road, take those 4 tyres. There's a noticeable difference after 8 laps.
So we do have one truck that didn't pit, and that is the latest round of the Thursday Night Thunder. The winner of that race at New Hampshire, Jake Maloney, has decided not to take any, although he ducks down to the pit lane and takes service this time. So I was just saying that was about to say that he made a bold strategy call by staying out. It looks as though he has dived to the lane. I'm not sure if he missed the pit box the first time around or something like that, but he has elected to jump in and take service, and that leaves Purnell out in the lead ahead of Callow, which is very, very similar to the story that we saw at the last round in Indy.
Yeah, I'm not sure, just like the last round in Indy too, Jason Martin problems in pit lane. I'm not exactly sure what's happened. His truck didn't look damaged, but he stayed on there a long time and he's come out well behind the field.
Yeah, well, he overshot his pit box. I was actually watching him when he came in. He did overshoot that pit box, and as we've seen it a couple of times now with Jason, sort of last week, and even back in the Cup race at Indy, he did the same thing, and only just managed to recover the lead in the last couple of laps. So he's got form in that area, Jason Martin, and perhaps it's one of those areas in which that he's so perfect when he's out there on track, but does seem to be prone to the odd error in the pit lane.
Yeah, he definitely does. Yeah, not too sure what happened, but he spent a good 30 seconds in that pit box.
All right, so just while we are rolling around here under caution, everybody is doubled up now, ready for this restart. We've seen in terms of a big mover there, Kai Slogger's actually moved up into third place after starting this race in P7, so he's had a good run so far. And don't forget about Dwayne Priest either, who started in 10th, and he's sitting there in 5th position, third inside on the inside row there. So just about to see the pace car duck off into the lane, and the field will now be under Purnell's control. Just waiting for him to stamp on it and go, and he has done, and very well he's done that too, and he's actually gapped the guys behind him, and we can actually see now Slogger just taking a bit of a look down the inside of Callow as Purnell looks to gap a little bit of a lead. And just sort of looking back in the field there, we can see Jason Martin has fallen, I can't even see him, he's fallen all the way down to 30th position, so he's certainly got a long way to come. But looking back at the front, we've got Callow now just having a look back down the inside of Slogger to try and retake that third place. It looks like Skurlock's actually trying to come with him, and Priest sitting there just keeping a watching brief back there in 5th position, and then of course the rest of them just come piling along there as well. So back out there, they're all on fresh tyres again, and we're going to see them go at it again, just like it's the very opening laps of this one.
And I'm starting to wonder if this whole thing at the front, Chris Purnell and Jackson Callow, is going to be a theme throughout the rest of the year.
Well, they certainly seem to have those trucks hooked up. They definitely know how to. They both know how to steer these things. They both know how to steer stock cars in general. So there's absolutely no issues there. And the trucks definitely seem to suit the pair of them. And once again, it looks as though it's going to be Purnell versus Callow, definitely at the front for the time being. Whether or not it's going to still be the same story at the end of this race remains to be seen, because there are quite a few good drivers coming in there behind them. Josh Mickelwire, he's worth watching as well. He has made his way up from 11th to P6 at the moment, and he's just tucked in there behind Dwayne Priest, but he's got Clowett for company there as well. Matty Clowett, of course, having such a great run last night in the ANZCAR series hosted by IRFF in the Australian Speedway League, so he did an incredible job last night to actually wrap up that round at Kentucky, and now he's actually back here in Vegas behind the wheel of an ANZCAR truck and really pushing at the back end of that top 10, trying to make his way up. So looking back behind him, Raymond Yeager, Kyle Stevens, Lee Granty, we haven't seen too much of him lately, but he's actually sat there in 10th position.
Wrecking on the backstretch, sorry, a good big wreck.
Big wreck on the backstretch apparently, so we'll just have a quick look to see who's been involved in that particular one. And looks like there's a bunch of guys involved in that actually. There's who are we looking at? I think there's I think Lee Granty's involved in that. We were just talking about him. Looks like Kevin Bomford might be in that as well. Can you give us any kind of update as to a cause for that one, Daniel?
Yeah, well, Dwayne Priest has just gotten loose coming off turn 2 on the bottom, and sort of gone up, avoided Josh Mickelmore, and ended up in the backstretch wall, and everyone sort of wrecked behind him, trying to avoid.
Well, that's actually a big shame here, because he was running right up the front. We did actually mention him as one who was running right there up the front. You're quite right. I think it looks like he's sort of got up into the wall, and then everyone sort of fanned out just crazy trying to get past him. I think it almost went to about 3 or 4 wide there. And once you go 4 or 5 wide down the back straight, it's only going to turn out one way. And I think that Priest has managed to get out of that with relatively unscathed, but there are some other guys there that really suffered. I think Bomford was one, and Clowett was another one. It looks like Riley Curtis might have got into that as well, so bit of a disappointing start for those guys, probably not entirely unexpected with this massive field. It looks as though Aaron Dillon and Dwayne Priest have both taken those trucks behind the wall as we fan down into the pit lane once again. We've only had a few laps here under green, but the drivers here feeling compelled to jump in for new tyres already.
Yeah, interesting to see if anyone takes 2 tyres. Looks like the 6 has had a lot of trouble getting to his stop, but I reckon 2 tyres might be an interesting call here.
Yeah, not sure how 2 tyres is going to work out. I mean, we do see it quite often in real life NASCAR racing, of course, but in iRacing and that kind of thing, 2 tyres generally it only works on specific tracks. most of the time. So we'll be interested to see if that works or if anybody tried it. It doesn't look like anybody tried it because you'd imagine that if they did, they'd be out in front of Purnell, but Purnell has actually come out of that pit lane in first place, ahead of Callow, Sloggett, Skurlock, Micklemore and Jaeger lining up for the next one. So just while we are under caution here, we might just take an opportunity to do something we didn't get an opportunity to do before and take a very quick run through the championship points. So obviously we've only had one round so far, and Chris Purnell, having won that, is actually top of the standings at the moment. Only a couple of points ahead of Jackson Callow. Jason Martin in third. We've got Josh Micklemore in fourth at the moment, and we've got 1 point gaps all the way down to Cornwall, Barrington, Jason Williams, Ryan Jones, Damon Stockton and Matthew Clowett, as we spoke about before, who I believe has actually taken his truck behind the wall as well. So those guys leading the championship at the moment. Purnell, Callow leading this race once again. Will Martin be able to come back up and actually challenge for the win? You wouldn't bet against it knowing his form, but at the moment it's definitely between these guys. And having a look there at Damon Stockton, he's up there in third place at the moment. He started 18th and he's in third, so I do wonder if he maybe took that two-tyre gamble.
Yeah, you don't see Stockton really run every single race, but he was very quick at Homestead. He had a top 5 truck there too. So I'm not surprised to see him up there. And you got Micklemore, Skurlock in 5th place.
Yeah, he's one of the newer guys to ANZCAR competition, Skurlock. Not Skurlock, sorry, he's been around for a long time. Stockton, I meant to say. He's actually been is hooked up with the DPR Ben Max team and running there in third position at the moment, as we mentioned. So he's actually had a really good start to this season. And he kind of, I think he used most of last truck season as a bit of a learning season just to kind of get on the pace. And now running up there near the front, it really does appear as though it's all really starting to gel and come together for him. So hopefully we're able to see a lot more of him up the front. He is one of the, I guess, some of the newer drivers that's come into ANZCAR. There he is running up amongst the experienced good old boys there at the front. So it'll be interesting to see what he's able to achieve going forward. And I would imagine that with the speed that he's showing, we may even see him racing in Thursday Night Thunder or the Cup competition that ANZCAR runs sooner rather than later.
Yeah, for sure, and I look forward to running against him.
Alright, so we are going 1 to green this time. We're just going to roll around for one more lap, and just having a look at some of the guys a little bit. Some of the guys who are actually wrapped up in that. I think Lee Grant is actually another one who got caught up in that accident, and we've got 28 trucks currently on the lead lap, and the last of those, the last truck on the lead lap is actually Matt Danson, who was the season champion a couple of truck seasons ago, sitting there in 28th place. He had a bit of a rough run at Indy. It looks like he might be having another rough run tonight. He didn't qualify, I don't believe. He started in 33rd position. He's up in 28th at the moment, but we've got a number of trucks that are off the lead lap at the moment, and they are Granty, Priest, Bomford, Smith, Curtis, Clyde, Dylan, Sadler and Williams, a number of whom are no longer actually running. So just as we come towards this restart, Daniel, do you think we're going to get a little bit more of a longer green flag run as these guys sort of settle down into the rhythm of this one?
Yeah, I sort of hope so, because I know how great the racing is. Like on these tyres wear out, everyone sort of slides around. But yeah, I'm not too sure. There's still a lot of cars left and a lot of trucks. Sorry, not too sure what to expect. Still got a lot of good guys coming through the field too.
Alright, here we go. So the field is under Purnell's control again, and he goes, and Callow goes with him. Much better start than he actually got last time, dropping down. It almost looked as though it caught a bit of the field napping. They're very spread out as they come down into turn 1. The only position really under threat is that from Damon Stockton, who's just holding the low line there against Josh Micklemore, who looks like he's just going to tuck in behind him and try and make a run against him down the back straight. But Purnell continues to lead. We'll be absolutely thrilled with the way that this season started for him. But just sort of looking back at Micklemore, looks as though he's getting underneath Stockton now, and you'd almost back a driver of Micklemore's experience to actually get that move done. And he's just as they move out through the tri-oval for the first time since this restart, it looks as though that is exactly what's happened. And Skurlock looks as though he's going to have a little bit of a nibble at Stockton as well. At least he's lining up too.
Yeah, as they go through turn 2 here, coming onto the back stretch. I think Micklemore's a good long run driver, so it'll be interesting to see if he can catch Purnell. But Callow's up there right now, and he's gaining on Purnell for the lead heading into turn 3.
Well, it depends if we get a long run. I mean, we've had a couple of short runs to start this race, and just as we say that, Stockton's actually moved back in front of Mickelmore, who was trying to hold it down there on the inside. It really shows how difficult it is to run that inside line, especially while these tyres are new. And I believe that's probably a problem that's only going to get worse as the tyres get older and older. I should imagine that the high line is even going to become a little bit more preferred. When they're running single file, they all tend to run down the bottom, but it really does appear to be hard to overtake down there. As we watch everyone just sort of stringing out into a little bit of a single file line, almost the entire field strung out single file at the moment, but absolutely bumper to bumper. And speaking of bumper to bumper, looking at those two leaders, we've got Callow all over the back of Purnell, his nemesis from the Indy round 1 week ago, and it looks as though Callow is just sizing Purnell up for a move and really just having a look at that outside run, trying to get a nice run off the turn, and it almost seems to be not a matter of if but when he's going to get that move done for the lead.
Yeah, and you can see Purnell here trying to block that advancement. But yeah, it looks like Callow gets a good run off the corner, and especially down the straights he catches a lot, and especially coming off turn 4 here as he gets right back up to the bumper.
Yeah, he takes a different line off turn 4, doesn't he? He sort of straightens out the exit and really gets on the throttle nice and early and helps him build the momentum to try and get up on the back of Purnell. And of course, he's going to use that toe as well as he tries to take a much higher line through 1 and 2, slots in behind Purnell again, comes off that's straight with comes off that turn with a lot more speed, and now tries to duck underneath Purnell, runs him up the track a big way. And it looks like he's just taken the lead as there's a huge wreck going on behind.
Yeah, that wreck all started around Josh Mickelmore. I'm just going to try and find out exactly what happened.
Yeah, it looks like Josh Mickelmore was definitely involved in that one. It looks as though Micklemore's actually got into the back of Stockton. And just having a look at that, it looks as though Stockton hasn't done... I don't think Stockton came down just having a look at it. It looks as though Micklemore's just gone into his left rear quarter. Oh, maybe he did just slightly. Maybe Micklemore just had enough overlap, but that has taken out a good few trucks. And Josh Mickelmore there being the, I guess, the instigator in that, if not entirely at fault.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the cameras that the viewers can see, but if I'm looking at the rear chase iRacing camera, Mickelmore gets right up on that quarter panel and sort of, it's almost like Stockton just sort of got loose off it and came down into him.
Yeah, I don't know if Stockton seemed to get loose, or maybe he didn't actually realise that that Josh had that much overlap. But whatever the cause, it's actually led to a really rough occurrence for those guys. Of course, Damon Stockton now, just having a quick look at him, he's coming to the lane with everybody else. I can't really tell if he's got a great deal of damage. It looks like he's only got a little bit of damage on that truck, actually. So he may be able to live to fight another day. He's got a bit of damage on the back and the front, and I'm not sure how much time he's going to spend in the pits just trying to rectify that. But that's definitely shaken up the order. It's funny to see that a couple of the wrecks that happened earlier on in this race have actually happened towards the front of the field rather than the back, where you'd sort of expect that kind of thing to be going on.
Yeah, I think that just goes to show like the intensity and just how aggressive these drivers are.
So Callow has exited the pits just in front of Purnell, and Raymond Yeager, I believe, is... well, we just have to actually wait for the positions to reset, because I don't actually think that's Yeager sitting there in third position. That's actually Ricky Cornwall who's come out in third position. So he started 15th and he's already up in third within 24 laps. And Dave Douglas, he's up there in fourth position as well. He started way back in 16th. And then we've got Mitchell McLeod. Mitchell McLeod, who actually started 34th, is up there right now in the top 5. So I'm just wondering if he perhaps took 2 tyres to help jump himself up the field a little way, and whether we're going to see him make a drive towards the front now.
Yeah, well, we know sort of what calibre driver he is, so I think we will see him race to the front. But I think he might have just doesn't look like he's got any damage, so nothing I can see at the moment. So I think he just made it through those wrecks and picked up a lot of positions.
Yeah, there's also that. So, he definitely is. As he crossed the line, he has been conferred in 5th place, just ahead of Todd Maxfield. So it's been a huge shake-up of the order already. Jason Martin, who we saw earlier on, way back there in 30th place for a moment, is up to 13th now, having started this race in pole position as they take up their positions in double file, ready for this restart. The lights on the pace car, I believe, are now off, and we're going to be going green next time by. No, sorry, the lights are, I believe they're actually still on. That's my bad. I saw a couple of the guys looking as though they were running too wide, but it looks like we're going to have another couple of laps underneath the pace car for these guys just to chill out, settle down, get themselves ready, and hopefully go for some a long period of green flag racing actually after the pace car finally ducks off.
And Damon Stockton has come rejoin the track. He's at the back of the field. He's got a little bit of rear end damage and a bit of left front, but I think he'd be alright on short runs, but the long runs are going to kill him.
You think the long runs possibly. He's definitely carrying a lot of damage in that tailgate. Also a little bit of a crinkle on the inside front fender there, and he's got Raymond Yeager, 4 companies sitting right behind him. So that's a big shame for him. Was running very, very well. Now sitting there, Damon Stockton in 22nd position. But if this race, if this race continues in the vein that's actually started, it may not be too hard for him to actually make his way back up the front. But hopefully he's able to bring that truck home in a decent position and take some much needed championship points. So looking back at the battle towards the front, it's the second race in a row now we've seen Ricky Cornwall really up there with the leaders, and he appears to be more than comfortable with jostling with these guys. Of course, we did interview him at the end of the Indy race last week, and we've seen that he is he's come from the Alliance Motorsports stable. He's moved across to DPR Benmax for the start of this season, and I don't know what it is. Occasionally you see a driver who's had a bit of a change in that. It might just be a change in scenery, a change in team, a change in atmosphere, and it really seems to have paid dividends for him. He is really coming on strong as a driver in this series.
Yeah, he definitely is, and I guess changing a team could do that. If when you're happy, you're going to be faster. That's sort of the way I think about it. When you're happy, you're going to be fast. You're going to be racing your best. When you're unhappy, you're sort of not really paying attention, a bit off the mark.
All right, so as we come around the pace car, getting ready to duck off again, Callow will lead them away this time. Callow having taken the lead from Chris Purnell just before that last caution came out. So we've still got a massive field of trucks here running there all together. So I suppose it's not that surprising. We've had a couple of incidents already, but Callow has gone, and Purnell's actually got away fairly well, and he's going to stick with him. He's just electing to take that high line, and looks like Ricky Cornwall's going to try and stick to the bottom there to get underneath Purnell, but he doesn't manage to do that, and they're going to run through turn 1 fairly well single file with Micklemore. No, that's not Micklemore. I'm sorry, that's Mitchell McLeod just making a move for 4th place on Dave Douglas.
And we'll see how well Rick Cornwall can sort of stay up there. But interesting, here we go, Chris Purnell. He's coming on the inside of Callow here for the lead. I was just about to say, it'd be interesting to see if Callow can actually run away from Chris Purnell, because he seemed a little bit faster in the short run.
Yeah, he seemed faster in the short run, didn't he? But I wonder how much of that was being assisted by the tow. Vegas, obviously, quite a fast track, so the draft does play a role here. And it looks as though at the moment the Callow's not really extending on Purnell. They do seem to be taking 2 very different lines through some of the turns. And Callow seems to be looking to drive the truck off the turn a little bit straight, I guess sacrificing maybe a bit of early turn speed, mid-turn speed, in order to really prioritise that exit, which is really what you want to be doing. And Purnell seems to be looking to carry a bit more speed throughout the entire turn, but probably isn't getting off the turns quite as well as Callow is. So it's I think that's where Callow actually managed to make the move in conjunction with that tow, and it really does seem as though they're really keeping to the same philosophy as this race goes on. But having said that, Purnell's caught right up the back of Callow at the moment and looks set to at least have a go at a move any minute now.
He's definitely on there. I don't know if he's going to get it.
Yeah, almost. It looks as though McLeod just having a look at Ricky Cornwall as well. McLeod just breathing down the neck, and of course we've got Dave Douglas sat in there behind McLeod as well, looking to get a piece of the action. So that's your top 5 at the moment. We really don't want to take our eyes off of this, because Purnell really applying that blowtorch to the tailgate of Callow's truck at the moment, and looks as though it might be him making the move any particular clock now.
Yeah, I was surprised McLeod actually stayed on the bottom through turns 1 and 2 because he gets a lot of speed coming off the top lane. He was out in truck up there not so long ago, and that's how he got the run on Ricky Cornwall.
All right, we see Purnell duck into the apron just there, just attempting to make a couple of inches on Purnell. Oh, sorry, on Callow, and actually closing that a little bit. And it looks as though McLeod and Cornwall are just starting to extend ever so slightly on Douglas. But if they do manage to get, and just as we look at McLeod ducking down and taking that low line again from Cornwall, see if he can make that one work this time. But just as we sort of get a few laps into this stint now, get a few laps into the run, tyre wear is going to come into it. The way these guys are actually managing these things is going to come into it as well. So it's not all just about driving flat out as fast as you can every single lap. It's about managing what you've got. It's about managing the tyres, especially the tyres, and managing the entire suite of things that you've actually got to deal with. And it looks as though Cornwall's actually just hunked off out the outside of Mitchell McLeod and kept that position, and actually got McLeod to the point where he's actually coming under pressure again from Dave Douglas. So impressive driving there as we see Purnell ducking to the inside again, just getting a look and really using that apron across the front stretch to really close up to the back of Callow, but unable to get a move done so far.
Ooh, I think they just wrecked in the lead.
Oh, they did. It looks as though Purnell's just got into the back of Callow. Although Callow's managed to gather it up quite well, I don't think that we're going to get a caution. So, it looks as though we have got a caution. Are they wrecking anywhere else, or was that it? Just having a look. It looks as though that may have brought a caution out.
There is a car on the roof down the backstretch.
Okay, there might actually
73.
So it looks like the 73's had an incident all of its own while that great battle was going up for the lead there. So just
23, sorry.
Back at the number 23. Sorry, looks like Tristan Yellen may have actually wound up upside down on the backstretch. And are you able to shed any light, Daniel, on how that actually happened?
He was running on the bottom line. Raymond Yeager looks like he's gone up high and sort of come down on him a little bit. Hard to say from the angles on what they just basically got together coming off turn 2.
Right, okay, so that's a bit of bad luck for those guys as well. Alright, so just, a bit of an unfortunate event for those guys, but we've got, obviously, as expected, everybody coming into the pit lane, but as you mentioned, looks as though Yelland and Jaeger getting together there, bringing out that caution just as we had all that action going on for the lead, and Purnell actually getting into the back of Callow, who's dropped down to 5th position, and that's promoted Ricky Cornwall to 2nd, so let's see what the race off the pit road actually entails. Skurlock still sat there on pit road at the moment as well, getting some repairs. It looks as though Josh Mickelmore in that Nexus esports truck, he's taken that one behind the wall. I don't think they're going to be taking any further part tonight. We'll just take a look at the race on pit road, see who gets away first. Looks as though Purnell's got away very well, and you'd expect that, and he's actually come out just ahead of Mitchell McLeod, who looks like, I'd say if McLeod had taken 2 tyres, he'd be a long way up the road, so I think that's just a very, very good 2-tyre stop from McLeod.
Yeah, this is going to be a good battle between Purnell and McLeod. And I was just having a look at Jackson Callow's truck, and he's got a touch of right rear end damage, but I don't think it's going to be too bad.
No, it doesn't look like enough to actually affect him, does it? So I believe he's going to be able to continue to fight. With that little piece of damage, I don't think it's going to hurt him too badly. So your leaders now: Chris Purnell, Ricky Cornwall, Dave Douglas. So we're actually just going to wait because I believe that we've seen McLeod jump up ahead of Cornwall. So we're just going to wait for him to cross the line for the positions to reset. But I think we can quite clearly see there we've got Purnell in the lead, McLeod in 2nd, Cornwall 3rd, Douglas 4th, Callow in 5th. Probably going to see a recovery drive from him, and Aaron Wilton sitting there in 6th position at the moment. Jason Martin, we've been sort of following his progress after that terrible stop at first, and looks as though he's actually up there in where is he at the moment, in 11th position. So he's continuing that fight back.
And I said this last week too in Indianapolis, but I love that 15 truck scheme. It's really good. But looking back now with Matt Danson, he's back up to 8th, so he's actually made it through the field back into the top 10, so it's going to be interesting to see what he's got for the leaders.
Well, Matt Danson's had an incredible run, hasn't he? So I'm not sure if some pit strategy may have played into that. We've been so focused on what's been going on up front, we haven't really had much of a chance to really take a look at his climb through the field. But I think that he's definitely on a charge. You know, whether it's strategy or whether it's pace, he's got those moves done, and he's actually got up there. He's managed to leapfrog a whole bunch of guys in that time. So 33rd position, 8th on the road at the moment. Don't count him out. He's going to be working his way forward as well.
Yeah, definitely. And his truck is clean too, so he hasn't been in any incidents tonight, so he's looking pretty good.
Yeah, there's a few guys sitting out there at the moment carrying damage, but I think most of the trucks around him are also fairly clean. I know Callo's got that little ripple on the back wing, and there are some of the guys running a little bit further down in the order who've had their issues so far during the race, but I think most of the guys up the front are looking pretty clean. So it's going to be up to Purnell now to try and get that jump as best as he can. We've seen him do a couple of restarts tonight already and try and make a gap at the start, and try and leave the other guys to fight over the scrap. So I'd expect to see him do exactly that again. And if we get a long run tonight, we're going to get a bit of an idea about who's actually better on their tyres than some of the other guys. But if it continues on little short runs like this, as far as the remainder of the race is concerned, it's really going to be who can get the moves done before the next caution actually occurs.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just looking through the field again, and another driver I expect to be out there at the end too, Will Barrington. He's carrying a pretty awesome paint scheme on that 16 truck too.
Yeah, there are some really nice paint schemes up and down the field. I agree with you. I think that the DPR Ben Max one looks fantastic, and Barrington, of course, it looks as though Barrington and Matt Hunter actually have actually just joined the Riley Curtis Design stable for the remainder of this truck season at the very least, and it looks as though Riley Curtis Design is looking to expand their ranks somewhat with running a team in the truck series, but keeping in mind Dave Douglas runs for them in Thunder as well, sitting up there in 4th position at the moment as we come to the green. And just keeping an eye on those front runners, I'd be expecting Purnell to jump pretty early again.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll have a look here.
Alright, so we come to green, just holds them, and away he goes, and he's got away fairly well. He actually has both he and Ricky Cornwall have got a bit of a jump on Mitch McLeod, and McLeod's going to slot into 3rd place there, so Cornwall taking that 2nd place away from Mitchell McLeod as they run through turn 1 for the first time, and Callow taking a look underneath Dave Douglas, trying to put on a little bit of a recovery drive and perhaps get back up at Purnell. Only 2 rounds, well, 1.5 rounds in really, and we're seeing what I guess a narrative for the season that Callow versus Purnell looks like it's actually turning out to be, and another chapter of it being written this evening. And I think Callow is going to do his absolute best to fight back up and get to a position that he probably believes is rightly his, given the way that he was sort of nudged out the way by Chris earlier on, just before that last caution came out.
Yeah, for sure. We're seeing a massive battle here for 2nd place. We're on to about 10th. Any one of these drivers could win this. It's the Danton. He's moved up, looks like, into 6th position.
Yeah, it's absolutely on, isn't it? As we see McLeod go to the outside of Cornwall. Cornwall doing his best to hang on around the inside, and Callow looking to split the pair of them, actually. Super aggressive from Callow as he jumps down onto the apron and pops right back up. You only need to look at the ANZCAR last night to know how badly that kind of thing could turn out as they go 3 wide through turn 1. McLeod thinks better of it, jumps back in behind, looks to get a run, chops down in front of Douglas and tries to get to the inside of Cornwall as well. So fantastic driving from him, and very accommodating from the other guys around to actually make sure he had the room to do that. And all the while, look back there, that Jurassic Park painted Chevy back there, Matt Danson working his way through. He's just taking a little bit of a nibble on the outside of Douglas at the moment. There's quite a few of those guys trying to use the apron to gain a few millimetres worth on their opponent, but Danson there having a look to the outside of Douglas, and all the while McLeod trying to take a look on the outside of Ricky Cornwall, looking to duck to the inside now. So it's all happening back there behind those front 2. And speaking of the front 2, look who's just moved back into 2nd place. It's Callow again.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think McLeod can actually get this done off turn 4. We saw Cornwall put up a big fight last for the yellow flag last time, but yeah, Mitchell McLeod can't do it. Looks like Danson's going to get a run on him on the inside of turn 1. And he thinks better of that.
Yeah, Danson versus McLeod's going to be interesting. They're both super aggressive guys, and just having a look behind those guys, you've also got just behind them, you're just looking at got Dave Douglas and Aaron Wilton in there as well. Ryan Jones having a pretty good run tonight, actually, as is Shane Witt, who's sitting there in 9th position, and I'm not sure how much longer he's going to have that 9th position, because the Purple People leader Jason Martin sitting in there right behind him at the moment in 10th position, obviously looking to make his way up as well. So looking back at the front, Purnell has around about a half-second gap over Callow. I think from the looks of things, just by looking at that by eye, that gap is actually coming down, and I think it's not going to be too long before we see Callow versus Purnell for the lead of this thing once again.
Well, yeah, Callow had that short run speed last time. We'll see how he goes on the long run. I think we're going to get a touch longer run this time, but yeah, in saying that, have a look at the third on back. They're still going for it. Matt Danson on the outside of Mitchell McLeod. They almost come together on the entry of turn 1.
Yeah, it's absolutely on for this third position, isn't it? Ricky Cornwall defending for all he is worth. Just looking at McLeod taking that run down around the outside of him at the moment. Danson looking to possibly follow him through. Cornwall, I must say, is really impressing me the way he's driving tonight. He's got two absolutely top drivers behind him. Both drivers compete regularly in the Thursday Thunder and the top level of ANZCAR competition. He's got McLeod, who's very aggressive. Danson's there. Douglas is there. Wilson's there, and they're all just piling the pressure on top of him along with a couple of others, and he's not flinching. He's not flinching, and he hasn't really made any mistakes worth the name yet whatsoever. So big raps to this guy. I think he's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, I think he's worked out. They can't get him on the bottom side. McLeod's going to be furious with himself because he finally got position and let me go on the outside and get it done.
Yeah, now he's got Matt Dancer to deal with as well, so that's going to play into Cornwall's hands a little bit, as those two look like they're going to be running too wide. But we've got Dave Douglas having a look on the outside now of Danson as well, as McLeod looks to have cleared the former champion, and looks like Wilton getting stuck in there as well. It's almost don't know where to look. I'm just looking back at Jason Martin as well. I almost sort of think that he's almost not wanting to get too much part of this. You know how much pace he's actually got, but he hasn't really stuck his nose into this battle yet, and I think he might be thinking that if anything goes down between these guys, he does not want to be part of it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he's doing. He just seems to be holding the back around the toe. But, once the tyres start to wear off, I think these battles will sort of fan out, like you can see now. It's really not pressuring Cornwall anymore, but it's still going on here for 4th. It's still too wide. Into the wall, yeah. Aaron.
You've got Danson there just looking on the inside of Douglas, and it looks as though he's just had to slot in behind him once again, and just quietly, Jason Martin slipped past Witt and also Wilton. Just looking up towards the battle at the front as well. Callow has really closed that down in the last lap, and we've got a caution on track.
Looks on the front stretch between the 41 truck.
Yeah, it looks as though James Robbie definitely involved in that one.
Yeah, he looks like he's been hooked by the 22. I think the 22 just got loose actually. But the 41 into the outside wall on the front stretch pretty hard.
Yeah, that's a shame for those guys, because they were sort of running a bit back there, but they didn't have terrible pace either. So a bit of a shame for those guys. They did have a nice clean run going, and it looks as though, I would imagine, that if the rest of what's been happening so far holds true, that we're going to see everybody pile into pit lane once again.
Yeah, we're pretty much going to get the green flag on halfway. So intensity's going to pretty much go sky high now, and these guys are already fighting pretty hard. I reckon it's going to be a great finish.
Yeah, if it hadn't been intense enough already, it's definitely going to ramp up even more between now and the end of the race as everyone queues up behind the pace car. I think we're going to see everyone come to the lane. That is the way that the race has unfolded so far, as every time these guys have got the opportunity to come for new tyres, they've actually done that. So I would expect them to come to the lane again. I'm just watching our leader Purnell at the moment and very much expecting him to duck down. And I imagine when he does, the entire remainder of the field is going to follow him, and indeed that is what happens. Absolutely everybody following Purnell down there to get some fresh rubber on those trucks that barely barely have anything left by this point, I think.
Yeah, and we're just going to make sure they all sort of get into the pit lane nice and easy. We'll have a look at Chris Purnell.
No limiters on these trucks, of course, unlike I guess some of the V8 supercars and GT3s that you see running in other series. But there's absolutely no limiters on these, so the drivers have to actually manually hold their vehicles right at that pit lane speed limit. And of course, if you break the limit, then you get a penalty. So it's another skill that's involved in driving these. But just watching the race off pit road, it looks as though Matt Danson's had a fantastic stop and has actually come out in second place right behind Purnell. He's leapfrogged Cornwall and McLeod and Douglas. So Matt Danson making his way to the front.
Yeah, even just looking at the top 5 or even the top 10, I could still not pick you a winner.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? You can't pick a winner. You just absolutely can't pick a winner from these guys. Purnell, of course, has run at the front quite a lot. He's going to be very tough to beat, but at the same time, Matt Danson, Cornwall, Callow, Douglas, Jones, and just having a look at that, I think Callow's... where is Callow? It looks as though he's dropped back to around about 5th or 6th position, so he's lost a bit of ground in those pit stops.
Yeah, when I looked at him, it looked like he hit his marks pretty well, so I'm not too sure. Maybe he was fixing a bit of damage previously.
Yeah, it could have been taking a few seconds worth of fix, that's for absolute certain. But everyone's sort of lining up behind the pace car now. Just while they are under the pace car, we might just have a bit of a look back in the pack to see who's doing what. We've got 20 trucks still remaining on the lead lap at the moment. The first truck 1 lap down is actually 3 laps down. It's James Rogby. So he's where's he at the moment? Is he still sat? I can't actually see him. It looks as though he may have actually taken that truck behind the wall. So out of the 37 trucks we had to take the start, we've actually got 20 on track at the moment. So that just shows what a bruising race it's actually been so far. And running in that 20th place, 20th and last position at the moment, we've got Ashley Lear, who's actually just bringing that truck to the pit lane at the moment. So maybe a bit of strategy going on there. Damon Stockton, who we saw earlier on, looks as though he's actually just dropping to the pit lane as well at the moment. He's running in 19th position, and there's a few guys back there who've been battling pretty hard. Matt Hunter's down there in 15th at the moment, and Ben Doherty, he started 6th. He's down there in 9th position, and looks as though actually just looking on the apron, we've got Tristan Yellen carrying a lot of damage, but he's refusing to give up. He's coming back onto the track and just letting everyone by, but we haven't seen the last of Tristan there tonight. 13 laps down, but he's going to keep on trucking, if you'll excuse the pun.
Yeah, the longer he runs, he picks up points from those drivers that have given up. Just to touch back on Ashley Lear, though, when the 010, he's got quite a fair bit of front end damage, so I think he's just taking his time on pit road. He's obviously been in some sort of accident.
Alright, so as the lights on the pace car go out, we have 1 lap to go before a restart. And I guess one of the questions that's sort of unfolding throughout the race so far, as well as sort of seeing Purnell and Danson and those guys, Callow, those guys who've been running up the front, I guess that the question that a lot of people are going to be asking is, when's Jason Martin going to come to the fore? Where is he? We know he's sort of sitting back right now in around about sort of 6th or 7th position, but we're so used to seeing him running up the front, and it almost feels to me, watching this one at the moment, as if he's almost been holding something back in these early laps. I mean, Daniel, are you expecting to see him make a drive to the front, or do you think he's actually giving all he's got at the moment?
I reckon we'll see him go back to the front. I think he's going to have to now. He's not going to be able to relax where he is because he's just going to get run over. So I think he's going to have to put his foot down now, and we'll see how he goes.
Well, we are in the second half of this race now, as you did mention. We're working lap 52 of 100. So you'd expect to see him making some moves towards the front at the moment. We will keep our eyes on the front because the pace car is about to duck off, and we're going to see Purnell versus Danson into turn 1. And if Ricky Cornwall manages to get the start that he got on the last restart, we may see him slot down inside of Danson as well. So let's see what actually happens here. Purnell goes and he's gone, and looks as though Danson's got away pretty well though, but Cornwall's got away very well as well, and is just slotting down to the inside of Danson there, and might actually manage to get this move done through 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think on a restart, Cornwall's probably got his foot flat, he's not lifting, and that inside line prevails coming onto the backstretch. If he can get it down, he squeezes up.
He absolutely has. So he's done dancing in there and slots back into that second place. And just having a look back there as Danson and McLeod get all over Cornwall, this is exactly what Chris Purnell wanted to see. And keep your eyes on Callow as well. He's sitting down there underneath Dave Douglas. Looks as though he's sort of halfway through getting a move done on him. And he's going to be wanting to attack Danson and McLeod very, very soon to get back into the area he believes he should be, right up there at the front with Purnell.
And we're just having a look at Jason Martin. He's on the outside. He's definitely trying to get moves done, so he's coming to the front. We've got Mitchell McLeod on the outside. Let's see now if he's got the right line and can actually finally get past down on Ricky Cornwall.
Oh, these guys are driving so well and so skillfully, but I can't help but think there's going to be another wreck before too long, because these guys they're just not leaving anything on the table. They're just, as they cross the line, it's just a gaggle of cars, 6-7 cars all in that pack there together. And hasn't Callow made a fantastic run there? He's done in Danson, he's done McLeod. Looks like he's about to do Cornwall as well, moving back in that second place. Where did he pull that from? He was only P6 a while ago, just a few metres ago.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but I think there's enough grip in those tyres on these short laps at the moment to get it done on the inside here.
Yeah, he's doing it all right, but where's he getting that grip from? He's absolutely done in everybody else. Sold it to them. Hook, line, sinker, rod, and copy of Angling Australia. He has done that, absolutely. All the way back in there to second place, and he's got to be looking to hunt down Purnell now.
Yeah, Martin seems he can't get around Ryan Jones. You've got Dave Douglas sitting behind Matt Denton. I think they're probably just maybe easing their tyres up, or even looking at the three in front of them. There's, it looks like the 15 gets into the back of Callow.
Yeah, it looks like he's had a bit of an issue there, but he's gathered it up, and he's sitting there on the outside runners. Danson takes advantage of that, dives down the inside, McLeod down the inside, Douglas on the apron. Look at the state of this. It looks as though Cornwall's just dropping back a little bit as well. Looks like he's actually dropped back a fair way and has been the big loser out of that.
100%. Purnell's just loving this. He's gone. He wants this to go green flag, but they're still battling on here for fifth.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit crazy in there as well. Where's Jason Martin fallen out of all of that? He was right there with that pack, but he must have got wrapped up in all that nonsense. He's back down in 17th position. He's got all to do again. How is that? We must have actually missed that. I'm not sure if anybody out there managed to catch what happened to Jason Martin while we were watching what was going on with Callow, but he has fallen all the way down. He is 18th and in there behind Matt Hunter, so he must have done a hell of a job catching whatever happened to him there. But it is absolutely no place for the faint of heart up front at the moment. Matt Danson sitting there in second place. Dave Douglas now up in third somehow. And Callow going around the outside of Mitch McLeod. These guys are beating and banging on each other. You would not want to meet these guys anywhere today. And Ryan Jones taking a look down on the apron on the inside of McLeod as well. Looks as though we had an Alliance truck bouncing off the wall there. That wasn't. I believe it may have been a lap truck. I don't think it was Purnell. No, definitely not Purnell. Purnell's still out the front, so relief for all the Alliance fans out there. Purnell is still leading this one.
Callow back in third place. He just got under Dave Douglas. He got loose. I did get footage of what happened to Jason Martin. It's something I've never ever seen him do, but he caught the safer barrier on the entry to turn 3, and it just slowed him all the way back down to 17th.
Well, it turns out Jason Martin's human after all, huh? That's got to be about the first mistake I've seen from him since the last time he drove on a road course. So that's quite remarkable to see. It shows how intense the fighting has been up the front. And I tell you now, with only 40 laps to go, I do wonder whether even Jason Martin, with all of his speed and skill, has got the ability to move his way back to the front with such ferocious fighting going on up and down the field like this.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for him now. I wouldn't write him off, but I don't like his chances either. And look at Ryan Jones here in the top 5.
Well, he's done a great job, hasn't he? He's up there in 4th place, just there ahead of Dave Douglas and Mitch McLeod as well. Looks as though he's sort of working away on the back of Callow. And this team that he runs for, which is Race on Oz, I believe, obviously quite prominent in the road racing side of things. And he's almost been flying the flag a bit alone for that team in the oval side of things as far as ANZCAR competition is concerned. I know that Tristan Yelland is part of that concern as well, I believe, running a little bit further down there tonight and has been racing sort of irregularly. But Ryan Jones has really been flying the flag for that team alone for quite a while now, and it's good to see him getting some reward. He's sort of stuck at it and improved incrementally. Did get involved in a lot of accidents early on in his ANZCAR career, but is really coming to the fore now, so it's great to see some new faces getting up there amongst the established guys, that's for sure.
100%. Look at Shane Witt, yeah, like you say, 7th, 8th, Ben Doherty, Nick Walsh, top 10. But I sort of want a long green flag run because I love, like I said, I love long green flag runs. But I think we're going to need a caution flag to sort of get the guys back together in another good race.
Yeah, well, it's 1.9 seconds between Purnell and Danson, so there's not really a whole lot of competition going on for the lead. Callow's sort of there; he's leading a group of Jones and McLeod, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of imminent danger of a change of position there. So, sort of slotting back a little bit further in the pack. You almost have to look down as far as some of the guys who are running behind, and that's Douglas, who's fallen off the back of that lead crew, and he's got Shane Witt and Ben Doherty sitting in there behind him. And then, of course, you've got Nick Walsh and Jason Williams really putting pressure on there. Saw a little bit of smoke there on the track as well, so I'm wondering if somebody else has managed to get themselves into a little bit of strife and nudge the wall, but it really looks as though everyone's sort of settling down a little bit. They've had 64 laps to play themselves into this track now. They really know how these trucks are going to act on the as the tyres start to wear off. But having said that, just having talked him off, looks like Ryan Jones into the fence. Ryan Jones has gone clean into the fence in the tri-oval there, and big shame for him. And it looks as though he may have actually got together with Callow. Looks like he's actually drifted up, perhaps. He has. It looks like, I can't really tell if Callow got into the wall and then into him, but Ryan Jones has certainly come off worse.
Yeah, he has. I can't really see my internet connection just links out at that stage.
Yeah, bit of a shame, but whether I think that Callow may have nudged the wall and got back down into him, but whatever happened, there was very little room being given by either driver at that stage, and it looks as though Ryan Jones has found himself coming off worse from that one, whereas Jackson Callow has managed to bounce over the grass through the tri-oval and retain a 4th position just ahead of Dave Douglas there. So I guess this is the caution that we wanted as far as the battle for the lead goes. Really closed everyone up again. I think Purnell will be the only one on the grid who's unhappy about it, as everybody else gets to close back up to him now. And once again, I think that we will be seeing everybody come to the lane this time.
Yeah, I was interested to see if Matt Danson actually could catch Purnell, but for 3 or 4 laps it was stuck at 1.9 seconds. It did not move. I know Chris lost the 10th going through lap traffic, and he pulled it back out 2 seconds.
All right, so just looking at the entire swarm of trucks coming back down onto pit road, I think Matt Danson may have actually given Purnell a little bit of a nudge there as they've just come down to that commitment line coming into the pit lane. But just having a look at Purnell now and Callow in there behind him, Matt Danson already peeled off into his pit box, and we'll see who gets out first.
Yeah, they're going to get in there quite clean.
Okay, can't see any major mistakes from anyone. Jason Martin only just arriving in his pit box as the other guys are just about ready to leave. So when was the last time you saw Jason Martin have a run like this? Looks like Danson's got... Yeah, you're right, Danson's had an incredible run off the pit road there, and Purnell hasn't got away well at all. So a lot of guys there... I'm not sure if a lot of guys took 2 tyres, but Jason Martin's actually come out in front of Purnell. I'm just going to rewind and have a look at Purnell and see if I can see anything there when he came into his box that may explain what's taken place. Nothing looks out of the ordinary on that pit stop. I can't really tell what's happened at all, whether the other drivers have all decided to take 2 tyres and leave him behind. But
no, it looks like he took 4 tyres.
Yeah, that's absolutely bizarre. That's bizarre.
There is a lot of chatter going on, but I can't hear it at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of chatter going on amongst the drivers, but whatever has happened, we've got Matt Danson up there in the lead at the moment. So, yeah, Purnell just hasn't got away very well. We got Danson and McLeod up there at the front. I think Dave Douglas is up there with them as well. And our leader, Chris Purnell, and I think Callow as well, for that matter, have dropped way back in this one.
Yeah, they have. I'm not sure what happened there, unless... No, they weren't carrying damage. They were in front of that pile. But yeah, I mean, Dave Douglas up there in third. I think he was trapped on the inside row for most of that run. That's why he sort of wore his tyres down and fell to the back. But he's going to be fun to see starting in third.
Yeah, he's having a good run, isn't he, Dave Douglas? So he's had some fairly solid runs in the ANZCAR Thunder that we've seen. He had a pretty solid run last night in the ANZCAR race before he got came to grief on a couple of occasions with some various misdemeanours that happened there. But Matt Danson started 33rd, now leads the race. Mitchell McLeod started 34th, now sits second. So Dave Douglas started 16th, now sits in third, and Jason Martin, who was on pole, now sits in 7th place. So great recovery by Jason, given how far down he'd fallen. But as you said earlier on, really struggling to pick a winner. The form drivers, it just changes lap by lap, and I don't even know what to make of it. As far as a potential result goes, it could fall to any one of 10 drivers conceivably.
Yeah, and I think you were right when you said at the start of the race that how much the draft actually has an effect. I sort of didn't think that much of it at the time, but I think this has a massive effect down the straight.
Well, not only does the draft have an effect, but if you look back to qualifying, how close the times were. You know, as we mentioned, there were only about 3 or 4 tenths covering the vast majority of the field, save maybe 1 or 2 drivers. So I guess it's not that surprising that it's been such a mixed bag as far as the race has gone. I suppose with the size of the field, you would have bet on a few cautions as well, and that's exactly what we've seen. But we're going to see Matt Danson lead them away for the first time, with McLeod there on the outside. So it's almost as if come the halfway point in the race, like the more experienced guys have worked their ways to the front. Jansen, McLeod, Douglas, very familiar names that you've seen throughout ANZCAR competition for quite a long while now. Ben Doherty up there as well, so I guess he's the first of the new faces, if you like. And then looking at Shane Witt sitting there in 5th position, having started 25th, and he's done an excellent job as well to get up there. And then you kind of go back to more experienced guys, Walsh, Martin, Purnell, before a fairly very recent newcomer, actually, Jason Williams, sat there in 9th, and Brett Douglas, who works for us in the commentary box here at Performance E Streaming as well, actually rounding out our top 10 at the moment, so a great run from him currently.
As we just come to the line to start this next green flag run, I think Cloud's really going to have to go for Danson, because if he gets caught back here like they have been, the front runners just sort of go, so he has to get beside Danton and have a good run. We'll see what happens.
He absolutely does. He has to do. That outside row 1 has really struggled, but you can see McLeod sort of trying to crowd Danson at the moment, maybe to get a bit of vision of him. And it's been a very, very close restart. McLeod's got away extremely well. He hasn't really got much for Danson on the outside at the moment, but he really didn't lose a lot to him either. But Douglas has got a great run. He's going to keep that foot pinned to the boards and really try and hug that bottom line and come up in front of McLeod, which he does do. And then you've got Doherty there just watching these two at the moment. He looks like he's coming under pressure for one of the Alliance trucks. That's Purnell trying to fight his way back through. So it's all going on here at the front at the moment. Purnell, probably the fastest truck of all of them. If the form guide for this race has been anything to go by. Danson streaking away at the front, but probably not as much as I expected him to streak away. He's definitely got a good start though, and with those guys running 2 by 2 behind him, he's definitely it's advantage Danson at the moment, that's for sure.
Yeah, Purnell picked up 4 spots. He restarted in 8th, and he's coming for 3rd here. I think we're going to see him come to the front. They almost go 3 wide through turn 3.
Oh, I'm not sure if he'd want to be doing that, but he's certainly having a look at it. He's left a few of the other guys there in his dust, and while we're watching that, Callow has actually fallen down to 11th place. So Callow got a lot of work to do. Going 3 wide through the triover, we got Purnell on the bottom, Douglas in the middle, and McLeod on the inside, and Douglas, I think, has got to back out of that just slightly. I'll let Purnell have it. Purnell's sitting there now on the inside of McLeod, who gets a better run off of turn 2, hanging on that outside line, runs a larger radius around there, carries more speed off the turn, and he's going to put Purnell on that less preferred, once the tyres warm up, it's a less preferred line right down there on that white line through the turns, and is really going to make him work for that 2nd place if he wants it back.
Yeah, he is. It's a bit unfortunate. Chris Purnell got a great run through turn 1 the last lap. He just couldn't get the momentum coming off turn 2 to hold that 2nd spot. Was back to 3rd.
Yeah, McLeod's been around long enough now that he's wise to those particular tactics, and he knows where to run to keep that momentum up to make sure that Purnell stays behind him. So I'd expect him to work every single angle that he can to keep Purnell behind, and perhaps use the added benefit of having someone drafting him to pull back up onto the back of Danson again. And just speaking of getting together in a group and drafting, we've got Douglas back there as well, trying to help these guys along. And looking back behind Dave Douglas, actually, you've got Callow. He's moving his way back up, and he's just slotting in right now behind Doherty or Walsh. And Doherty are very, very, very close indeed. Doherty's got Shane Witt for company there, as well as Walsh on his outside. So it's just as frantic as it's ever been, all the way up and down the field. Apart from Matt Danson, who's got a relatively comfortable half-second lead at the moment, but that gap does look to be coming down now.
And poor Jason Martin, he's stuck behind it all. He's just thinking, get out of the way, but he can't get past it.
No, and he can't push his way through either. So he can't drive through people or over people or under people. He's got to find a space left or right, and that space just really isn't opening up for him at the time, at the moment. So these guys just running there at the front. We've got a piece of lap traffic there just staying high. I believe that might actually be, I missed who it was there, maybe... Skurlock, actually. Skurlock, who we saw involved in a wreck earlier on, just staying high and out the way as all the other guys come through. But just watching Jason Martin now as well, he's just tucked in there behind Doherty, and as these guys have sort of moved back more into a bit of single file racing, I'd imagine that we'll probably see him pick off Doherty and Witt fairly quickly. And front, I can tell you definitely that gap between Danson and McLeod at the front has come down only by a couple of tenths of a second, but when it was only half a second to begin with, it's certainly coming down a significant amount.
McLeod into the wall.
Oh, he did touch the wall. He did touch the wall, and Paul Purnell has gone, thank you very much, and gone around the inside there. So he's taken over that second place, and